Greetings. Today we'll be looking at what's the best mage spec for Wrath of the Lich King Classic. And let's begin with one of my favorites at some point, the Arcane Mage. Now this was a powerhouse of a spec for most of the Burning Crusade, and they still pretty much remain a powerhouse in early Wrath. Now the first phase of Wrath of the Lich King, they are immensely powerful. There's nobody who really doubts just how powerful their damage really is. Single target is what Arcane Mage always excelled at, and this still remains very much the case in Wrath of the Lich King. Cleave damage is virtually non-existent for them, but the single target damage is absolutely jaw-dropping. In phase 1 of the expansion, fights are typically shorter, meaning you don't really have to worry about mana and you can just go to town pumping Arcane Blast to your heart's content. Now, of course, as you can imagine, it won't be rare to see Arcane Mages at the top of the DPS meters. The charts will be filled with them, and you'll wonder what's with this Arcane Mage that really never gives a spot to anybody else. It's because they're that powerful. And they're especially more powerful when it comes to some more melee unfriendly fights. What's more, Arcane Mages get a modest utility buff in Wrath of the Lich King. On top of the, on-brand and brand new focus magic buff available to all mages, we get the Arcane Mage exclusive Arcane Empowerment. Your raid now has no reason to bring a Beastmaster Hunter at all, because this buff doesn't stack with their ferocity inspiration and they do superior damage. That's how it goes. Only the strong will survive, and unfortunately Beastmaster friends, you're not really gonna be that useful for this one. Sorry. But in a way, Arcane Mage, that was weird, has the same issues as Assassination for rogues. It will drop off later on, and we'll see where it really drops off to the class I play currently in retail, or I used to play in retail, Fire Mages. Now, Wrath of the Lich King, they got a complete overhaul. It's intended to restore the spec to its former classic glory, when there was some. Now, most of the talents have been reworked and gameplay is now completely different, focused on machine gunning instant with Pyroblast and, of course, Hot Streak, and to a lesser extent, on the upkeep of the new Living Bomb Dot. Fire Mages have a pretty big potential to be one of the most powerful specs in the game, and with incredible single target damage and AoE damage, they can rise up to the occasion. But see, therein lies a little issue. We cannot yet actualize the potential in phase 1. Our scaling is superb. The Fire Mage scaling is amazing. But in the early phases of the game, well, a lack of, crit that's useful to activate Hot Streak to take off, making it take off, means Fire Mages kinda lag significantly far behind, Arcane. Finding, that Fire Mages they didn't reach their potential just yet. But on the plus side, while Fire Mages lose on single target damage, they have very respectable AoE and cleave damage, unlike Arcane, which, we've discussed has none. Now, besides the lack of crit, Fire Mages also suffer from a minor lack of utility. They offer the same utility as Arcane, but there's this thing that their fire exclusive utility is a 5% spell crit debuff, improves Scorch. Unfortunately, this one becomes quite redundant, since every single spec of the ubiquitous Warlock class will be applying it automatically. But that's a problem that only happens in the first phase of the expansion. Things look better for Fire Mages in phase 2, And they really reach their maximum potential and their hidden potential, to make a Dragon Ball reference, in phases 3 and 4. Now, let's look at the last mage spec for this video. And it's quite a tragic one if you've played the classic before, and that is the Frost Mage. Now, Frost Mages can cause immense terror on their enemies inside battlegrounds and the arena. But, unfortunately, the reign of terror does not extend beyond PvP, because they're awful for PvE. They're an awful spec for that. And Blizzard made an effort to make use of the more PvP viable, deep freeze, but it's simply not enough. The single target damage is too low, and even several other classes can beat it while also, half AFKing. So in this position, the question is, now that we're looking at stuff and we see how Frost Mage has fallen from glory from its Molten Core days, what's the best spec for it? Because at this point we're tied between Arcane and Fire. And my go-to, and don't really take it, take it with a pinch of salt, is for you to go with Fire. Indeed, you will be kind of less useful, and Arcane Mages, they will always pump you out, they will always outdamage you, and your friend that plays Arcane Mage will always laugh at you. But that's only in phase 1. Because once you get to phase 2, your friend will start to fear the Fire Mage that comes behind him. And once we reach phase 3 and phase 4, you're gonna be topping those DPS meters. Those charts are yours to command. And so, my advice is simple. Go with Fire. You might want, and you could technically start a little in the first phase with Arcane to make sure you get those DPS charts, but I think you're gonna reach a bit of a problem once you switch from Arcane to Fire. But again, I say go full Fire. You can always change from Arcane to Fire, but full Fire is my full recommendation. And as the tanking video I did some time ago, this was all written by Warcraft Tavern, except the little part at the end. I made my own mark there. Thanks for watching.